on this computer. All right, so then Sally is going to start. Sally Fallon Morell. If you have never met Sally, she's here. She's our president, and thanks, Sally. And so I asked her to just tell us why she started the chapter leader system and how. Like, how did that all happen? What's her vision for the chapter leader system?
Okay, so do I need to unmute?
No, I got you.
Oh, you got me. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. It looks like we have 29 people. That's great. And especially a big welcome to any of you who are new. Can you put your hands up if you're new? New chapter leader? Hope you're not overwhelmed. But I sometimes wonder if we do a good enough job of welcoming new chapter leaders. And I hope that all of you are on the chapter leader Yahoo group. Yes? Okay. We have great discussions there, and it's really the only group that I'm on. I can't do more than one, so you may prefer Facebook, but we do Yahoo. So please join the group. We really have great discussions there. So anyway, the chapter leader system, we've had it in place since we were founded in the year 2000. I think we had about 5 chapter leaders in our first journal. And now, of course, we hover between 450 and 500 chapter leaders. So I think our chapter leader system is something of the envy of other groups, because it allows us to really extend our reach in a very economical way. And I want to say how grateful we are to all of you for representing us. So let's see. So I think there's 2 keys to a successful chapter system. One is enthusiasm. I mean, if people aren't enthusiastic, it's not worth doing. And we're just amazed at the wonderful enthusiasm that people show. After all, you are our voice. You are our contact with people in local areas, and you help them find all these foods we're talking about, because after all, they're not easy to find. That's the first thing. And what was I going to say? The second one just went out of my, enthusiasm. But the second thing is organization. I mean, you really do need people to feel that this is organized, that they are being kept track of. You need to make sure that people who don't want to be chapter leaders are removed from the list. The annual report is very important, and I really take my hat off to Kathy. Kathy does that, and believe me, it's a lot of work. So I would say enthusiasm and organization is what keeps the chapter leader system going. And possibly the third thing is good communication, us letting you know exactly what we'd like you to do and which things are optional, how you talk with the public and so forth. So I would say those are the 3 components of a good chapter leader system. And of course, great people, which, I'm always amazed at what wonderful people we attract. So.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Sally. So what we're going to do tonight is, as you know, we're going to talk about the main goal, the main obligation of chapter leaders, which is to keep the food resource list. So a lot of you have been chapter leaders for a long time. So you have your list, and so you can help contribute if you have anything to add to what we're talking about. I did get some questions in advance, so we'll address those as we go along. So we're going to I'm going to present a couple things, and then we have 2 chapter leaders that are going to show some samples of food lists, and then we'll just open it up for discussion and other questions that come up. So obviously the main reason we're making food lists is to connect the producers with the farmers, and the producers with the customers. And that's huge. Like, people think, oh, I don't do anything, I don't have meetings, but doing the list itself is changing the way people eat, and it's making a big, it's having a big impact on the world. So I think it's underrated sometimes how important that list is. So one thing I tell new people, and just keep this in mind, I think it's a good idea. Think of someone that's getting into what we're doing, but they're brand new. So when you make your list, it should help that brand new person. Like, I think of my brother. Okay, he wants to do this, but he's brand new. And if my list is not detailed enough with addresses and phone numbers and what products each item, each resource offers, it'll just be overwhelming and he won't do it. So I want to think of that person that needs the most hand-holding when I make my list. And sometimes people, when they become a chapter leader, they say, well, can I just use my local, what is it? Let me look at my list here. Farm Match or Local Harvest, one of these websites that list all these farms. And we don't think that's a great idea because I looked at some of those earlier today. It's okay to put them on your list, but your list should be easier than that. Like that, when I go to that Farm Match or when I go to Local Harvest, they're great resources, but I would be my head would spin a little if this was new to me. So we ask people not to have that as your list only, only that. And remember too, to put your chapter information on the list and put our website on the list. Because what'll happen is you'll give the list to someone and they'll give it to their friend and their friend, it goes all out into the world and nobody knows what this list is if you don't have your information on it. So, but that's a simple thing to do. And then one thing too is just have it ready to be emailed to anyone, like different computers. And so it should be in the most, I don't even know what's the most universal format. Maybe people can tell me what they have their format. Karen, what is you have it in Excel or Word, or you have a Mac, I think.
I would say PDF. That's what we found is the easiest for people, yeah.
And it's hard for them to change. It's hard for them to change that PDF file, so.
Yes.
Which is.
Right, and the formatting stays the way you put it. And also we found that it's easier for people to open on their phones. PDFs.
Oh, okay, that's a great point. Karen, I can't unmute you.
I'm sorry. I just unmuted myself.
I have a question for Andrew. Do you do it in an Excel spreadsheet first and then put it in PDF? No?
No, well, we just do it in a Word document and then we convert it to a PDF.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah. I put mine in Numbers, which is Max Excel, and then save it as a PDF.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. And by the way, we don't post it. Some new chapter leaders send it to me and say, where is it going to be on the website? And the whole point one point of having chapter leaders is that you keep that list. It's not, we don't keep track of it because that would just be impossible because it's a constant work, as you know, of change as you're adding people. So now in a few minutes, we'll look at these samples. But let's just go over some of the things we put on the list, and then the question, who goes on?
Kathy?
Yes.
Hi, this is Susan. I would like to add that if you keep the original in a spreadsheet, it's great to be able to sort. So when somebody calls listing, asking for a specific item, it's easy to sort a spreadsheet. Just another note.
Yep, that's a good point. Thank you. And I do think, I remember a couple of chapter leaders, I've been doing this a long time, so this isn't very many, but a couple of people said, well, I just ask them what they're looking for. If they're looking for eggs, I send them where they can find eggs. But obviously, you want to give them the chance to learn about anything that you have available. So they may start wanting eggs and end up, buying the farm. But okay, so we're putting farms obviously on it, and if you are a farm, you can put your farm on it, of course. But we don't want you to just put your farm. Hopefully, there's other farms around. You can put health food stores, farmers markets, co-ops, food clubs, and even restaurants. So one question we get with that is, do I have to visit all these places? Do I have to visit the farm in order to list it? And the answer is, ideally, yeah, visit them. That's great, but you don't have to. And you could even put that in the note. I haven't visited this farm, but this is what I've been told. Right, Sally?
Yeah, I want to just bring this up. We're not a trade association. A trade association is an organization that works for a certain industry. So we're not a trade association for small farms. And we don't give ratings for small farms. It's not like we're out there giving them a 1 to 10 rating or excellent, or we can't do that. So you just want to be very factual. So you'll say, this is Foster Farm. They provide these products. We visited the farm and this is what we saw. They pasture feed these months of the year. This is what their grain mix is. So just be very factual and don't say, this is a wonderful farm or this is a terrible farm. Just be factual and let the customer make the decision. And again, you're not giving a rating to the farm, and that's very important, certainly for our tax-exempt status.
Yeah, and one thing to be careful, we did have a farmer, and this isn't a common occurrence, but we did have a farmer once say that she was feeling so much pressure from her chapter leader about how she was doing things, and she's been trying to improve, and she said, I just don't want to feel pressured or put down. So just be careful. In fact, that reminds me, I'm going to show you, maybe some of you already know where this is, but on our website we have resources for the chapters. Okay, let's see. That's not sure. Sorry, let me just let's figure this out. Oh boy. All right, back to square one. So somehow I've lost my whole meeting look here. Oh, can you all see my emails? Okay, wait. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
We see a screen.
Okay. So let me just show you this because some chapter leaders don't know about this. That's fine. So under our Get Involved, we have a whole section for local chapters, including the local chapter list. So, which you probably already know that, but at the bottom here, we have resources, chapter resources. And when you have time, you can look through this, but I just want to show you the handbook, our handbook.
It's a bestseller.
Ah.
You will stay up late at night reading the chapter handbook.
And you'll find some updates are needed, but but that's okay. So on page 16, it has a thing about visiting farms.
Kathy, all I see is a Word document. Is that true for everyone else?
Yeah, that's what I see.
No, I see Kathy Kramer's, it says join Zoom meeting on mine.
Okay, interesting. So something's wrong.
There, now I'm back to the meeting.
Okay, let me try this again. So share. Okay, let's see if this will work. Now can you see the
Yes. There we go.
Yes, thank you.
Good, thank you. So anyway, this is page 16 of the handbook, and it just has some questions that you can visit and have these questions in mind. You don't want to go there like doing a quiz for the farmer, but it just gives you some things to look for. And one thing, just a little reminder, we can't say they're organic. You know, be careful with that word, of course. It's a strict, we don't say that unless they're really certified organic.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's there, and then
Kathy, you can say this farm is using organic methods, but it's not certified. It's using biodynamic methods, but it's not certified. So again, I can't stress enough. You just be accurate.
Okay. So, and the other little thing to show you here is page 10 has information about the food list, and like Sally was describing, how to do how to list your items in an objective way, your farms in an objective way. So that's all on here too. So on page 10. But let me ask this question, and people can tell me. One of the questions I got, and I often get from new chapter leaders, is how do I find the sources? And especially someone wrote today and said, how do I find practitioners to list? Like, how do I know if they're worthy of listing, I guess was the question. So
let me just give a little background on this. I started out being involved with the Price Pottinger Nutrition Foundation, and they kept a physician's list. And I immediately saw what a terrible idea this was, because it was not up to date. You know, nobody really knew all these doctors. They just had some idea that this was a holistic doctor or whatever. So again, I think that it's much better for the chapter leaders to keep a small list of physicians and dentists and so forth they would recommend. You should know something about this doctor. It might not be that you've gone to the doctor, but somebody else has told you about the doctor. So I just wouldn't put anybody up there. I would just put the ones that you've heard about and know about and have talked to somebody about.
I can say most of mine have come through either physicians I've used myself or word of mouth. I do have one that's listed that is not somebody I would necessarily go to, but he's listed because his name comes up over and over and over again in the community. So under notes, I put that he's not a real big fan of Western Price diet.
Oh,
So that's the reason that I've added him.
yeah, that's a good idea. Like you put objective comments.
yeah, just be objective. And it's still okay to list him. I mean, he may be really good at treating something. He may give exemptions. You just never know. But they don't have to be right on our page.
Yeah.
To list them.
And what about sources of food? How have you all found? Is there any? How do you find what you list?
Again, my biggest one is word of mouth. And then I also, at every chapter meeting or when I'm meeting other people, I ask them if, they are finding other sources that I don't have on the list.
Oh, at your chapter meeting. Okay. That's good.
And then at our farmers market, or there's other events in the area that are more kind of holistic events, and they have different vendors. And I found some people through there either talking, they're directly selling a product that we would endorse, or they might have connections. And so I'm asking them for recommendations.
And don't forget the advertising in the journal. I mean, look under the states. There may be somebody that you didn't know about.
We also have a Facebook group, so people help each other find things. And then if someone makes a recommendation, we'll check it out.
Good. So you'll visit a store or whatever is recommended.
Yeah.
And one thing I would do as far as hand holding, let's say it's a store, not every store you have on the list would you recommend every product in the store. So it's good to say, they have ferments or they have raw cheese or whatever, just to give that new person some guidance on what to look for at that store. So one question I got too is, what if a farm uses soy? How would you?
You just say they feed soy. You can say they feed organic soy or they feed regular soy. Just be factual.
Okay.
That's also a big factor with regards to when you're looking for organic eggs and the like, is to ask them, have you spoken to the farmer about what kind of organic feed are they using? And does the organic feed have soy in it? And then make sure that you convey that to the person, because we have a stance against soy, but at least give them that prerogative.
Well, again, I don't think we want the farmers to think that we're judging them or, trying to browbeat them or anything. So it has to be done very nicely. Make sure you say, we'll list you, but we do have to note that you do feed soy. So, and it doesn't matter to some people.
Has anyone experienced that where you're listing the farm and I don't know, you're getting feedback from the farmer, or it's awkward, or they complain that you put soy? Is anyone getting any feedback?
But over time, this has effect. My son and his wife were able to find soy-free eggs in Chicago.
Wow.
And this is just little by little, the farmers, you know, see that there's a market for it and that it's not a good idea.
We also found that if we spoke of that, I've had several farmers who stopped using soy just because they were made aware of it. They didn't know about the awareness of it before.
That's
So
great.
it made it for a very positive thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. So they don't feel judged or anything, but they feel intrigued or, you know, kind of led along to do that. Now, one question we got today also is, so let's say you have a farmer on your list, but then you start getting negative comments about that farm. And the farmer is saying, no, I'm doing things right. And the question wasn't clear on what were the negative comments, but she said there were a number of negative comments about the farm and how it was being, maybe the cleanliness, I'm not sure exactly. But she said, what do I do? Like, how is it a certain number of negative feedback comments that I'm, you know, once we get to this number, we're Xing them off the list, or what?
Well, I think I'm sorry, Ella, go ahead. No, it wasn't you. I think, again, you might have a column for comments, and you could say, we have received this comment about the farm.
Okay.
And just, again, factual, factual, factual.
Okay.
I've also told people when I give them the list that it's up to them to ask when they call and whatever farmer they decide to use to make sure they're comfortable with whatever practices. Because I know in my area, we have a lot of turnover, and I don't want to be responsible for saying that they're doing one thing and then they change their practices down the road. So I just let people know when I give them the list, you know, here's some resources that I know of. And I also know that I don't have a complete list, and I let them know that. So when I send the list out, I also ask people if they hear of other sources to let me know. But I also tell them that it's their responsibility, not mine, to make sure that they're comfortable with the practices of the farmer.
And I think that should be on the top of your list, a little paragraph saying that. Telling them or asking them to contact you if they have any comments or if things have changed, and then have a date when the lists, you know, when it was updated. I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Because I know we get feedback about our advertisers. Like we can't say that. I mean, we have them in the journal, but if something changes with them, or like we can't be 100% sure that this is the, you know, every product they have is, anyway, people have to think for themselves too. So I think that's a good point. Now
I'd like to ask a question, Kathy. Do any of you have trouble finding good bread? To me, that is the hardest thing to find. Yeah, a little hand. Like our health food store.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I'm on a kind of rampage about this. Our health food store has a sourdough bread, and but it's not organic. Actually they have no organic bread in the health food store.
Wow.
So at least fresh bread. They might have some in the frozen, but I'm having a hard time. I'm trying to find a good sandwich bread for my grandsons, and I haven't been successful.
I actually have a great source, and I never put her on. I mean, she's a farmer. They're on the list for a bunch of other stuff, and I never even thought to put down the category for bread. So I'll add that. Yeah,
we need to kind of focus on the bread. Yeah.
Have you ever eaten Ezekiel bread? Is that one?
Well, the Ezekiel bread has gluten in it. Added gluten. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not in our shopping guide.
And soy too.
Yeah, it has soy in it. You know what's really needed? I've been talking, Tom Cowan's son is starting a bread business. We need a bread that kids can make sandwiches, or that moms can make sandwiches with and send to school. Can't be too brown or the kids won't eat it or they get made fun of, right? But it definitely needs to be organic and sour. I think being 100% whole grain is the third thing, but it needs to be organic and sourdough. And sliceable or sliced. We just We just haven't done it. My daughter and I have been kind of looking at all this, and we haven't made much headway.
Huh.
In northeast Wisconsin, we have like one bread that's pretty close, another company that's in northern Wisconsin, One Love Bread, that's doing pretty good, but nobody is doing exactly what I want. We make our own.
Yeah.
But we need food. It is a big question. Sally, on the bread thing, how important is the that Ramiel guy on the Cure Tooth Decay, his idea to sift the whole wheat and not have it be 100% the whole grain, but sift some of the bran out. Do you find that makes a difference?
Well, I'm just trying to, I'm really focused on kids taking their lunch to school right now. And I would agree with that. I think that the bread shouldn't be too hard or they won't eat it. It shouldn't be too brown or they'll be made fun of. It should be shaped like a rectangle. So, you know, it looks kind of normal. It doesn't have to look like Wonder Bread, but it looks kind of normal. So yeah, I would agree with that. Now, if it is really 100% whole grain, then it really needs to be a really sour, you know, sign that it's been totally fermented.
So are the main
Sally, I occasionally order from Azure Standard out of Oregon.
Yeah.
And they have three options that I'm looking at real quickly here that are organic and sour.
Okay.
But I don't know. I haven't looked at the ingredients list.
Okay, I will look there. Okay, great.
Azure Standard.
Okay.
AzureStandard.com.
Okay.
How do I jump in here?
Lisa, go ahead.
I did a survey of local bread places in Eugene, Oregon a few years ago, and it's on our website. So if anyone wants to look at the EugeneWestonAPrice.org/sourdough, I've got a list of the questions that I asked them. And we had one bakery that came out pretty high on my standards of using organic flour, having a long, slow souring process, and some other things. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
Lisa, can you put that in the chat? The link to what you just said.
I will if I can figure out how. I've never done this before.
Oh, okay. There's a.
So I'll give it a try.
Okay. If not, can you maybe just repeat it? The link.
Our website is EugeneWestonAPrice.org, and then /sourdough, I think will get you to that link.
Okay, great.
Good, that's good.
I just reviewed the 2 loaves that are available at Azure Standard that are sour and organic. Unfortunately, I can have neither because they have gluten in them, but I don't see soy in the ingredients.
But the gluten,
or anything.
This added gluten, I mean, it's like you've gotten rid of all the benefits of the souring.
Oh.
I know.
It doesn't say added gluten. It just says that it's made out of whole wheat.
Oh, I see. Okay, well.
What are the 2 on Azure?
People might look at the One Love Bread.
Okay.
Go online and take a look at that. One Love Bread.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Can I just speak?
And by the way, if you haven't opened the chat, people are commenting there with some ideas too. And Karen, is there a way for us in the end, will we be able to share that chat?
I think it goes with the recording, but I'm not sure. So.
Okay, we'll figure that one out. Okay, well.
You can look at the chat while you're on the Zoom, and the chat will pop up on your right-hand side, so you can read it at the same time.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
And see at the bottom, it's at the bottom of your screen, there's a little bubble that says chat. You can click that.
Oh, okay, this is great. Organic bread of heaven.
Yeah, and you can send an individual person or to everyone. So if you have something to share, a link or something, you can send it to everyone.
Okay.
Or you can send secret messages to individuals. So here's another big question that I get all the time is, what about raw milk? So I know that some of us are in states where it's perfectly legal and safe, but others are in states where all of a sudden it's not safe. So no, just kidding. It's it's not legal. But what do we do? How do we list it?
Well, of course, the first question is, do they want to be listed? So that's absolutely the first. Do you want to be on our resource list? And if they don't, of course, you leave them off.
And they might not, because either they don't need any more customers or they don't feel comfortable. I guess it could be a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Now, what if they, so what if you don't list it, but you get emails that, or you get a phone call of, where can I find raw milk? Does anyone get, you know, like what, how do you know if someone's okay to tell what you have? How do you all deal with that?
I'd love to hear what their experiences are.
Okay, I'll talk. In Idaho, we have raw milk that's legal if you're licensed, although in our area, there are several dairies that are not licensed, including where I get my milk. So they just don't want to be on the radar. And I do give the illegal, if you want to call them, that I have two lists. I talked to Kathy about this before. I have an open list and a closed list. So my open list, if they're licensed in the state of Idaho, I have no problem putting them on the list. But some of our best sources are not licensed. And so I do not include those on the list since I know they're not licensed. But when I am speaking to someone calling me about milk, I might ask them a bunch of questions, and then I take their information and I pass it on to the farmer that's on the closed list. So typically I'll give them the list, and they may call me if, you know, they're still having trouble. Maybe there's no, they don't have enough milk to take on new customers on the list that I provided them. And then they call me back. And then those customers, I'm asking them a bunch of questions, and I don't give them the name of the farmer from my closed list, but I will take their information and give it to the farmer. And then the farmer can do the final vetting as to whether they're comfortable with. So that's how I handle it, since we have both legal and illegal dairies in the state.
And you've been doing that for a while. It's working fine?
Yeah, I've been doing that since I've been a chapter leader. So right after I came to Idaho, they changed the law in Idaho. So they tried to get rid of our herd shares and the whole bit. And then they decided, well, we'll have them as long as you're licensed. So the other flip side of that is I get phone calls. I don't get very many of them anymore. But when they first did that, I would get phone calls from providers who were totally conventional, you know, doing so, and they hear, oh, we can make more money doing raw milk. And so they call me and just say, oh, I switched. I'm doing raw milk now, so put me on your list. I'm like, okay, well, if you're licensed, I will put you on the list. But that's the other reason I tell people that when I give them the list, that they need to be comfortable with whatever the practices are of that farmer. Because I know we have a lot of turnover in Idaho with licensed dairies, where we've got new farmers coming in. They have no experience with doing it with raw, and they switch thinking they're getting more money. And, you know, and I always refer them to Rami as well when I hear about them. But we have a lot of people where then the state is testing, and then they go in and they get shut down. And then the next summer at farmers markets, I got a whole slew of new licensed dairies. But that's just a problem we're dealing with in my state.
Anyone from a state where raw milk is completely, I mean, I don't want to say illegal, because it's never illegal to purchase, consume, or possess, but illegal for the farmer to provide it in any way. So up a state like New Jersey or Delaware, Rhode Island, anyone from those states? Okay. It's a little bit more of a dilemma in those states.
Sally, say that again, just the,
So if it's one of, we know we have 7 states where there's no way for the farmer to provide that milk, either as pet milk or herd shares or selling it. So, for example, one of them is Louisiana, and somebody calls you, but you know where to get raw milk in Louisiana, okay? That's a difficult one, because somebody calling you may be, you know, a spy or a mole and trying to find these farmers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just wondered if anyone is from one of these 7 states where, they have that problem. Okay.
And does anyone have any other?
Alberta, Canada. I'm from Alberta, Canada, and that's the case there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you handle it?
Well, we actually have a fellow who just recently got into trouble, and he got fined $75,000, and he faces some jail time. So right now we kind of just avoid the whole topic until this all plays out. Really, I don't really want to step on any toes or mention anybody right now.
Yeah, we're aware of this case, and we're definitely going to support it as much as we can.
Awesome. Yeah.
Does anyone else have challenges about raw milk, about that whole question?
I do.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm fairly new at this. I've been a chapter leader for a little over a year. And there are several, I'm in central New York, and in New York State, you can sell raw milk if you're licensed and sell it from the farm. And so we were getting our milk from, in fact, when I came here, my neighbor across the street was the West Indian Price Foundation chapter leader. And she had a little raw milk group going where people could get pick their raw milk up from her house. And so that definitely was not being picked up on the farm. And the farmer had been around for a long time, and in fact had been one of the first farms to be rated back many, many years ago, Meadowsweet Farm. So when she left and I became the chapter leader, I've been very uncertain what to do about listing and advising people on raw milk, because this person sold milk for many years to people, was not licensed, and then she sort of gave someone else the go-ahead to do it in her place. And that farmer provides absolutely wonderful milk and wonderful dairy of all kinds. We can get butter, we can get cream. I've been to the farm, I've looked at it, I've talked to the woman who's the farmer at great length. I think it's excellent milk. But and I've continued the small raw milk group, but I'm really at a loss as to whether I should be listing it or telling other people about it. I just don't know.
Do you have meetings?
No.
Okay. I think in cases like that, like, you've got a little raw milk group, like what you described.
It's all neighbors at an intentional community where I live, yeah. And she does deliver to other people in the town as well that are not related to me at all.
I'll pick you up at yeah.
See, the thing is, if it's a child who needs raw milk, you hate to withhold the information.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't want to get the farmer in trouble. So just to give you an example, we sell pet milk. Mm-hmm. And we've been called several times by the department, somebody saying they have a sick baby and they need milk, and is it okay to give the pet milk to the baby? Mm-hmm. And I have our people who work in our store, you just absolutely cannot say yes to that question. Mm-hmm. Because they're trying to trap you. And I once walked in the store when a man had just entered and was asking for raw milk for his child. And I said, absolutely not. This is for animal feed only. And he looked so crestfallen. He hadn't trapped us. So, and there was a witness. So I do think it's a dilemma what to do.
Thank you.
I think if for sure you need to meet the person,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You mean the person who is asking or the farmer?
Yeah, the person who's asking.
Who's asking, yeah.
And then maybe you would call the farmer and say, what should we do? See what the farmer wants to do.
I have talked to the farmer a few times, and she says she's still okay with me, giving her name to people. She wants her business to grow. So, but when I heard about the person who just talked here with the huge fine, I don't want to get her into that situation.
Well, actually, I don't think that really happens in the States. I think what happens is they're asked to shut down, or you know.
And it'd probably be a good idea, at least I think it is, to get encourage the farmers to join the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund.
Yes.
At least if something happens, they'd have.
Yes, I have done that, and I don't know if she's joined.
Good. Okay.
But I've advised her on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let me ask Karen. Karen was going to show us her food list. I know there's many ways you can make your food list, but Karen was going to give us a sample of what she's found to work effectively.
Okay. Also, before I forget, did you see the comment from, who said that comment? Lizzie, Sharp, and Jocelyn? That the comments go with the recording and you can click to save the chat before Zoom closes.
Oh, good.
So you might want to double check and do that.
Good. Thanks, Lizzie.
Okay. Well, ours, we played with a couple different ways to do it, and we did one on a spreadsheet, and it got kind of complicated. So then we decided to go more simple, and we went with Microsoft Word. Let's see. So we're in a state where everything's legal. So I guess I'll share my screen. First, let me bring it up. So I used to just send them the PDF, and then I put it on Google Docs and sent them the link.
Oh,
and
that's
now
cool.
and now I have it on Google Docs, and you can get the link from our chapter website. Mm-hmm. So I'll show you how we do that. So I just go to the share screen button. Okay. This is our chapter website. Let's see, move some things around. And right here in the right sidebar, food resource list for Pasadena, California, downloadable copy. And there it is. It's just very simple. I put it in order of the items. Unfortunately, bread's not on there, but I should add a category for bread.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, this is a PDF now. We've kind of gone back and forth. Should we do a PDF? Should we do Word? Because if you do a Word document, these links actually work. So if you don't do a Word document, you have to cut and paste them into your browser. So that's it. It's just, we have the food resource list, our chapter name, and then at the bottom, published by Pasadena, California chapter of the Weston Price Foundation. Every time we update it, we do last updated on that date, and then our links. And then I just added the westonaprice.org link because you said that we need to do that. Of course, it makes a lot of sense. So we have grass-fed meats, organ meats, healthy fats, cod liver oil, buying clubs, prepared foods, non-local and online ordering. And then we have here on this page a list of restaurants.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, with the style, food, their website, and what neighborhood they're in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's how we do it. And if they want to download it, they can. But it always stays up here at the same link. And every time we want to change it, which is Erin and I want to give a lot of credit to my co-leaders, Erin Zober and Joy de los Santos Farrar, because without them, I wouldn't have all these resources. They're just, oh my God, especially Erin. He knows so many places, but he makes it his business to know. So thank you, Erin. Anyways, if they want to download it, we just go here to this little button. They can download it to their computer. And that's pretty much it.
Oh, that looks great. Nice and neat and tidy. Yeah.
So I guess I'll stop the share. That's just one example, but there's so many ways to do it.
Anybody else have one they want to share?
Okay, I believe that Kathy wanted me to share mine. You're sharing one, Kathy, but you are on mute. So you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Okay, so let me just show you this real quick. So these are the chapter pages within our website. You can have a chapter, you can have a web page for your chapter within our website. So I just pulled up a couple of samples here. So it's pretty simple. You have this across here, you open up the local resources and they list and you can list it, like they just list the farms in order, and then they tell you what each farm has versus putting it in order by each category of food. But either way, I'll just show you. Here's another one where they have a drop down for all the different items, which is kind of neat. And then the last one, again, is just a simple list. So that's just a couple items. But yes, if you can do yours now, I'll stop my share, and Barbara's going to show hers.
All right. Let's see. That was not the screen I was expecting to come up. Hold on a second.
While you're pulling that up, the restaurant, all those restaurants that Karen had made me think there was a chapter leader that their chapter meeting was just once a month they went to a different local restaurant. Like it was a real simple way to get together. I thought that was kind of neat.
Was that one in California that did that?
No, it was, it was a long time ago, and I can't even remember now where, but they got together, and she said she didn't do any work, just picked out a place, that this is where we're going.
I know there was a California chapter that visited a lot of ones, and on their website they had a great list of places that they went to.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that was the one.
Could be. It's either like Simi Valley, Ventura. I think one of those two.
Okay.
Yeah, I like this layout.
I actually have it in numbers. This is how I modify it, which makes it really easy for me. So I can just add, which I'll end up having, and it doesn't matter where I put it. So now I can put in bread. But then once I've done that, it makes it real easy to where then I can just go and sort. And now it's by alphabetical. And then I can export it to a PDF. So that's how I end up doing that. So it's not as neat as the couple in the format like what Karen shared. And I have at the top there, ask your provider about, because I want them to take the responsibility and I don't want to be responsible for that.
The one thing that you might want to add here is a column that just has the town.
Okay. Yeah, most of ours are pretty close in, and a lot of times I put that in the notes.
Oh, okay.
Here I have Athol, and I have Worley, and Lane. So a lot of those are in the notes. And I can just add whatever categories I have. And I've just added them over the years. I mean, this isn't something that I had from the very beginning.
Right.
So, like I have my practitioner here. He was a practitioner I went to originally, and we argued every single time I was in because his answer is always eat right for your blood type. And then he tried to talk me out of the Weston Price diet. So that's why he's listed in here and with the notes that he's listed with, because his name comes up frequently. So that's how I do ours. I used to have a couple more restaurants that were in here, and several of the restaurants have now gone out of business. So now I just.
That's too bad. I hate to hear that. Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get more in there through the 12 steps. So that's mine. I will go down and figure out where. Stop share. I can't find the button to stop.
Yeah, that looks really neat. I mean, all the ones we've seen, the two that we've seen is both easy, and both of them it's easy to add bread.
Does anyone have any challenges about their list that they want to ask about or tell, or any other lists you want to share? That
horrendous stories? Anybody have any horrendous stories to tell us?
I have just a question, I guess. I'm the new chapter leader of the Little Rock, Arkansas chapter. I just it's been like 4 months. Okay, so I'm very new. Raw milk is legal here in Arkansas. The issue that I feel like I've been involved in the Weston A. Price Foundation for a long time. And here I feel like the issue is we have a lot of people selling raw milk, but they have, they're feeding it very like GMO grains and it's not super clean. And so I have been hesitant to recommend these farms because I don't want, it's not something that, people will come to me and I don't want to recommend bad milk. So I wonder what your opinions on that would be.
I think if they're really bad, if they're just filthy, I would leave them off, of course. But But I think otherwise, you just have to say, this is what they do. You might even say cleanliness might be an issue here, or they're just feeding regular feed. Just
We
put
do
it down.
have several farms that are good, and so those are the ones that I recommend that do like a non-GMO grain. But there have been a couple people that come to me, and I'll go out to the farm, and I'm like, I just GMO grain just makes me shudder. So.
Yeah, well, I think if you have others that you can recommend, yeah, but I don't want any of you to get in the role of a policeman.
Right. Yeah.
Or making judgments about these farms. So I think if they want to be on the list, yeah, put them on. You can just say, I don't think this farm's very clean, or they're just using feed store feed,
That's when you had brought up the point of not browbeating them. That's what I wanted to ask too, is like how to go about, because there's just a lot of people that are ignorant and not in a mean way. It's just that they don't understand. And so it's like how to educate.
Right. You might say to someone, well, we're very happy that you're doing raw milk. There's always a lot to learn, and I think you'll get more customers if you do this and this, and you might want to go visit this farm where we feel like it's being done right.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
They might not necessarily do it. I'm always stunned at people who think they can just sell any kind of raw milk. But I'm also stunned by the fact that there's so few illnesses. Most of the milk people are drinking is unregulated, and there really are not a lot of illnesses. So
it's true. It's very true. Well, thank you so much, Sally.
I know one thing we had. There was a farmer. One of the chapter leaders that was. He said, well, I wouldn't shop there, or I wouldn't go there, so I'm not putting it on my list. But one thing that I noticed is the price. Like, let's say this is an ideal place, but it's a lower price, and some people have to go with the lower price, even though it's not the best product. It's hopefully it's better than what they would get in the store. So you want to give some options, even if they're not the perfect. Maybe they're just better.
Kath, that's a really good point, Kathy. So you see a farm, you don't like some of their practices, but you still have to say to yourself, this is a better product for a child than anything they could get at the grocery store. And I think that might give us pause to make sure that we're providing, as much information as we can. And it might be $5 instead of the other farmer who's charging $12, and beautiful, clean, non-GMO milk, but you can't afford it. That's no good. So I think we do need to say to ourselves, before we get too picky, what are their alternatives? So if it's better than the alternative, it should be listed, I think.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, we're just about at the hour now. We can think about, I have that survey, which I'll put in the notes here again, the chat. So if people would fill out the survey, you can give us some ideas about another topic if you'd like to do this again. And if you do, I've asked questions like how often and what day works for you, just various things you can give me to help figure out the best plan for the future. Does anyone want to throw out any topics that they would like to see covered? I know we have tons that we could do.
Well, I think meetings, and then also social media contacts, how you set all that up.
Mm-hmm.
Websites is another. Of course, that could be websites and social media.
Does anyone have any particular challenges that they're facing that they would love to get the input of the other chapter leaders and us,
I thought Sally's mention of meetings was a good one, because we've had a hard time getting people to come to meetings.
Okay.
We have Karen is the great meeting expert.
Yeah, and someone today, they had done a exhibit for us over a couple weekends ago. They sent in, I think it was 30 or 20, anyway, almost 30 new members. And I thought, Wow, how did she do that? I would love to have that topic. Like how we don't want to pressure people to be members, but people love being members and reading the journal. So how do we share that and encourage that? That might be.
And exhibiting too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
All right, well, thank you.
Hear me?
Yeah, who is that? Speak.
It's Jocelyn. It's me.
Oh, good. Hi, Jocelyn.
Okay, so I just had a question, Sally, if you don't mind. One of the questions we get a lot is thoughts on the keto diet. And I didn't know if there was like an official Weston Price response to the keto diet. I'm a naturopathic doctor as well. So I have my doctor response, but I was wondering what the official like Weston Price response is.
Can you give me like a 2-sentence summary of what you think the keto diet is? Because
yes, so the definition that most people in our area are going by, and this would be how I would define it, is extreme restriction of carbohydrates with lots of high fat and some vegetables, but it's mostly focused on the fat. So I believe it's
well, we like that part very much. And if you restrict carbohydrates and then don't do a high-fat diet, then you're really in danger. So yes, the fats are good. What we're hearing is that people get cravings, carb cravings. And, you know, we do have an article on the website about why you need carbs. So that might be a good article to look at. I don't think the keto diet is emphasizing a lot of things we emphasize, like raw milk, for example. You know, how are you preparing your vegetables? What kind of salt you're using? The bone broth doesn't seem to be a part of that diet. It can be, but it doesn't seem to be a part of it. I believe, and then I think, I always look at this as from the point of view of raising children. It's a very expensive diet, and it's a difficult way to raise children. And I think, especially in those growth spurt years, they really need those carbs. You know, they need you to provide sourdough bread and oatmeal and rice and all these good things. I think the keto diet is restrictive, unnecessarily restrictive, but I think it's not dangerous. Let's put it like that. Whereas I think the paleo diet is dangerous. And I think it's a good way to lose weight. So I think of all the diets out there, that's the one that, you know, is probably best. Except for ours, of course.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm on. Can you hear me?
We don't allow any dairy at all. And there's no sugars, there's no dairy. 5% carbohydrates is the definition.
Yeah, I think that's too low. I think you'll get cravings, and the children need dairy. It's going to be too low in calcium. Where else are they going to get the calcium unless they're grinding up bones, putting them in their food?
Can I jump in here?
Yes.
Okay, this is Lisa from Eugene again. And I personally very carb intolerant and do keto for myself. And I've been working on trying to figure out the, I mean, I think they're very compatible. I don't think they're the same, but I think for those of us who don't do well with carbohydrates, it's a really good way to do it. And I would, I'd like to see more acceptance going both ways. And I know that some of the keto community, which I follow quite a bit, is listening to our stuff, is listening to information, and is learning from us, are learning from us. And I'd like to see acceptance going both ways and say, you know, it's not for everybody, but for those of us who need it, it's really good. And so I would encourage someone to say, you know, you don't have to go this far, but if you need to go this far, this is the way to do it, and to incorporate our principles into the keto diet. And I'm working on trying to figure out how to explain that to people. I
think for people with kind of really burned out adrenal glands, it's really, you need to lean towards reducing the carbs and more fats. Lisa, do you do cheese at all?
I have been for a long time. And And dairy is accepted in a lot of the keto plans.
Yeah.
There's both. There's some that are strictly avoiding it, and there are some that are including actually probably more than they should because they're running into problems with too much dairy also. So I think they need to incorporate more of our principles. And like I said, I'm trying to figure out how to explain that to people.
Well, I'm one of the things I really get concerned about is calcium. And we may not need as much calcium as everyone's saying, but especially for growing children, you need a source of calcium. And that's in traditional cultures, it was either dairy foods or bones. But I don't see anybody crushing up bones and putting them in their food. Maybe you could do eggshells too, cooked in vinegar or soaked in vinegar, something like that. But the easiest and most delicious way of getting that calcium is dairy. And if you can't handle the milk sugar, then you would want a really aged cheese, so there's absolutely no lactose in it.
Great. Any other questions, or I guess we can sign off. We're the survey asked, do we want to do this again, and do we want to do it monthly or every other month or whatever? So just please do the survey. I'll take a look at it, and we will send out a link for this for anyone that missed it. Or
oh, neat.
Yeah, so if you have a co-leader or whatever that didn't see it, you can tell them.
So Kathy, I just figured out how to save that chat. So you go to your bottom of your screen on the right, and under the button that says more,
okay,
hold it down, it says save chat.
Oh, cool. Okay, great. Yeah, people put some good resources there, so you might want to save that.
Yeah.
Kathy and Sally, my husband's mom was actually a Weston Price chapter leader, and then he and I have been chapter leaders for about 1.5 years. So I'd really love to hear like ideas for meeting topics, and like how do you keep track of members? I mean, do you do like a registry? Do you, how do you kind of like a little more nitty gritty of running the chapter with the members part? And are the members considered regular attenders, or anyone who's a member of the Weston Price Foundation that actually attends your chapter? Just different thoughts along those lines.
That's a really good question. I wouldn't use the word members of your chapter, because a member implies that you've paid something, and we specifically say in our bylaws and our founding documents that you do not need to be a member to participate in chapter activities. So I would call the people who you deal with and work with, I would call them participants. Okay? A member is a member of the Weston A. Price Foundation. You always want to encourage memberships, but if they're just, interfacing with you or coming to meetings, they're participants.
But it sounds like, maybe next time we could address that whole meeting topic. That sounds like that could even take a couple of times. All right, well, I guess we should close up, but it was great. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, this was a great idea, Kathy. Thank you. Karen, thank you.
Thank you. And someone also recommended it at our chapter leader meeting, so I can't remember who that was, but.
Oh, well, whoever that was, we thank them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Do we know how to get off here?
You have to go to the bottom and click on the right, leave meeting, and then you can say end meeting for all. It asks if you want to end meeting for all, and you can end meeting for all.
Okay.